We're going to be looking at this from the point of view of attracting people to your organization, your school, your business. So that might be for staff, but that also might be for marketing purposes. You should have the ability to ask questions in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So do feel free to interrupt as I go along, and then I can help with particular topics. But at the end of the session, I'll also have some time spare so that we can go through how you can apply some of the things that we've talked about to your particular organization. Rather than going through a presentation, I'm actually going to share my screen and we will go through how to do some of these things on LinkedIn so you can see where they actually apply. So we're going to start off by talking through your LinkedIn profile, how to update it, why it's important to update it. Then we'll talk a little bit about connecting with people, growing your network, how to find people, how to encourage people to engage with you. Then we'll talk a little bit about your school or business company profile, what it is, how you can use metrics to understand how successful it's been, and what kind of things you should be posting to it. And then we'll just divide the topic up into recruitment and marketing topics so that you can know how it applies to your particular area and profession. So let's start off by going through your LinkedIn profile. My view on the top section of your LinkedIn profile is that this is the most important part for anybody that has a profile on LinkedIn or uses LinkedIn to market out their organization or school or business in any way. And the reason it's so important is that LinkedIn's research has shown that viewing profiles is the most common activity. This element of your profile is also what's going to drive people through to your company profile or school profile, because every time it has where you currently work, people are going to be able to click on that. So you can click on it at the top, for example, and they will go through to that company profile. I won't go into too much detail because the wizard that shows you how to update your profile is pretty detailed, and it is something that you can just follow through step by step. But the comments that I would have would be that I really like it when you have a set banner that you share within your organization that everybody can use. And I like it for two reasons. One, it shows people that they've landed on an employee's or somebody's profile. Two, you can use it to kind of market yourselves out. So this might be an opportunity to explain what you do, for example, or who you're looking to connect with. And then finally, I think it's just really nice and clean and tidy to have that consistent brand messaging that goes across everything. And quite often when you share this to people within your organization, it's also a good reminder and a good kind of prod to get on and maybe update their profile or to log into LinkedIn and see what they could be doing with this to help you to recruit or to market your organization. In terms of your URL, you might not know that you've got the ability with this pencil icon to change this. So originally mine was something really long like J Digby and then a long series of numbers. So I've just tidied this up a little bit. It might not be particularly relevant for you, but the reason I like that is it allows me to put that on email signatures. It allows me to put this on websites and on content, and it's clean and tidy, and it makes it easier for people that I meet to add me on LinkedIn. One thing that I would say is that your contact information, you just need to be a little bit careful that this isn't your personal email address. And if you're prone to getting a lot of content from people via emails, then I would hide your email address in the contact info section, just so that you're not bombarded. The about section, this is a great opportunity to market out yourself or market out your organization or business. So just write a little bit about what you do. And if you're a recruiter, this is a great opportunity to put a little bit about the roles that you're looking to recruit for. The roles that you would be able to recruit for here typically are support roles and senior leadership, or even heads of department level positions that you might be looking to attract people to. Um, it's quite difficult to recruit teachers on LinkedIn. It's not impossible, but I would recommend it more for senior leadership and support. I know it's particularly good for things like IT technicians, marketing managers, HR staff, a range of roles like that. But there doesn't tend to be a lot of teaching staff on LinkedIn. When it comes to actually updating your profile, I think the most amount of information that you're going to need is for your current position. This would be a good opportunity to talk about who you're looking to connect with, and a good opportunity to say a little bit about what your organization or business does, and what you're looking to get from LinkedIn. The further back you go, I would recommend the less content that you put. So, for example, when you get back to maybe 4 or 5 years from your current role, I would only be putting kind of one sentence or two sentences as a maximum for those job roles. It'll help keep your profile clean and tidy, and it will encourage people to focus on your current job position. You can add certifications, you can add licenses, you can add skills. In my experience, these add very little to people, but it might help in the future if ever you're looking for job roles, because often recruiters use these to search. And then finally, recommendations. People often ask me about requesting these and giving these. My experience is that the received and given ones tend to balance out, because every time you've asked somebody to give you a recommendation, they typically then come back and ask you for one. So typically, the people that you see here align with the people that you see in the given section, and therefore they don't tend to add a great deal to the value of your profile. Does anybody have any questions at all about LinkedIn profiles and updating them? Perfect. So, in terms of once you've updated your profile, maybe you're new, maybe you've created this from scratch, the next step would be to grow your LinkedIn network. Um, my recommendation for doing this would be to start by connecting with your peers. So, say you're a HR manager, the way that you would do that is you would filter your search results so that you're looking at people in similar positions. That might be, say, you're a HR manager within a school. That might be people who have got a similar amount of experience to you. It might be people that face similar challenges from a recruitment point of view. But typically, their networks are going to reflect the types of network that you would be looking to build. So I've put in HR manager at the top. It's important to note that this is a keyword search at the top, not a job title search. And then I've gone to see people results. When I go to all filters, I will be able to reduce this set of results down, but I can see across LinkedIn, there's 3.5 million people who have HR manager in their profile at some place, maybe in their current role, maybe in experience that they've had, or maybe they've just mentioned it in their profile. So the first step would be to limit this by industry. So if you're a school, as this example set out, you would want to use primary and secondary education. If you were an educational organization, you could use education, you could use education administration programs, or it might be relevant for you to use higher education. So I filtered it on this. And then I've got the ability down here to use the title HR manager, but I'm going to use it as a keyword for the time being. And I'm going to also filter it at the top here on the United Kingdom. So when I click results, what this is going to show me is how many people in the UK within primary and secondary education have HR manager in their title. As you can see, it's quite a good number. And now I've got the ability to have a look through these people and invite them to connect with me. So I can see here that I've sent a connection request previously to Sarah. I've got a couple of options here. I would be able to send a connection request through that button. Let's see if there's somebody that is not pending at the moment. So, for example, Lisa here, I would be able to connect with, and I can just send that off. When I send that off, that connection request will appear in notifications when Lisa hopefully accepts it. If I wanted to immediately communicate in some way with Lisa, the best way to do that is to add a note. When I add a note here, so for example, I thought it would be good to connect because we both share an interest in education HR. A message will appear straight away in my messages here. And quite often that also opens up a conversation as it has done here, that I've sent somebody an invite to something as that connection request, and it's immediately led to a conversation. So as a general rule of thumb, if you want to communicate with somebody as soon as they've accepted, or you want to know that they've accepted, send it with a message. Otherwise, just click send. They do say that when you send a message, you've got a better chance of converting that person to a connection. But in my experience, it's made a limited difference to my ability to convert people when I send them a connection request. Does anybody have any questions about that at all? Perfect. So, once you've done that, I would be aiming for 100 to 200 connections from manually inviting people who are your peers. It will then give you access to their networks because you can connect with people that are second or third tier connections. And you'll also find that this area called My Network becomes more useful. So I've got the ability to scroll through, follow people that are more useful, but I can also connect people with people who are based on my recent activity. So if I just connected with HR managers, I would be able to see a wide range of people that met that criteria or were in similar roles. So it might be HR advisors, for example. So these areas become a lot easier, and I can just click connect and it will send a connection request, which speeds up the process of growing my network. Once I've reached that 1 to 200 level of connections, my next step would be to grow my network through sharing content. There are a number of ways that you can do this, but the cleanest way, if I was to come up with an example, would be to share a URL. If I find something that maybe is relevant to network, it might be about pension schemes, for example. Typically, I'd recommend that you avoid things that might be seen as political, but say this was nothing related to politics. It was about the pension scheme. When I paste this URL in and I give it a few seconds, it now populates it as a nice image, and I've got the ability to delete this and write in why I'm sharing it. The key thing with content is to understand that LinkedIn as a platform will be giving value to each piece of content that you share. When you share a link or you share a post, say for example, I share this from Kate, so I can copy this and share it. If I don't add any text to it, I start off with a lower value being assigned to that content. So make sure when you're sharing content, you are writing text. When people engage with that content, they click see more, they spend time reading it, they comment, they like, they repost, they send it to someone. It gives it more value. And the reason this is important to understand is because initially you're going to be building a bit of a bubble. So when you share content, to get outside of that bubble, you need to be thinking about what your target audience wants to read about. We'll come on to this a little bit more with the marketing element that we're going to talk about, but it is important to understand that the more people engage with your content, the higher the value of that content, the more people it's shown to. If you had 1,000 connections and you posted something, your content doesn't get shown to 1,000 people. It maybe gets shown to 50 or 100 people. If those people engage with it, it gets shown to more, and so on and so forth. So keep expanding out. Once it's started to be seen by maybe 500 people, it will then be shown to people outside of your network, and you'll also get more traction because people will be sharing it, and those shares will go to their network. So it's not just your network that will see it, but people outside of your network. So that's one way to share content. The other thing that is a really good backup would be this news section on your homepage. So let's say this was relevant to HR. I'm not necessarily sure it is, but I've got the ability to click through. Say this was about marketing and changes in marketing, or the number of times people need to see content, or if you're a HR person, say this is about changes within benefits and compensation. I could read through here. I can see what this is summarizing. I can see what people are talking about, and I can see people are sharing graphs, people are talking about maternal health. There's a range of things that people are talking about, but they're all to the same topic. So I now know this is going to be relevant. So I'd be able to click this button and then repost to feed. If you give it time, it will populate in a unique news story at the bottom. And I've got the ability again to write some content about it. The more content you write here, so long as it's not more than 4 or 5 paragraphs, the more content you write here, the greater the value will be assigned to it, because LinkedIn will be predicting that you're sharing something that's relevant to your network and that you have a view on it, and you're not just spamming your feed by posting things as many times as possible. So it's a really great way when you're stuck for content to share things. As a general rule of thumb, you should be sharing in thirds. So 1/3 should be about your profession. So that might be about changes in marketing, changes in HR, changes in recruitment. 1/3 should be about your sector. So that might be for a school, for example, or for an exam board, that might be changes in the examination process. And then 1/3 should be sales and marketing and recruitment. So that will be putting out your positions, that will be giving some kind of insight into your products or your service or your school. But it's still important to remember that that third that's promoting you out, it shouldn't be just a case of sharing a job position. It should be providing insights to people that are relevant. And if you don't want this just to sit within that bubble, you've got to make sure that that marketing and sales pitch and that recruitment piece is relevant to people outside of your bubble and your network. So we'll come on to that again when we talk about marketing and recruitment. But for the time being, let's talk about your company profile. So your company profile, it's a standard name. It refers to you as a business, you as an organization, you as a school, you as an education provider, whatever it might be. So you've got the ability here to see your analytics if you're an administrator. What I would remember is that have 3 or 4 administrators. A number of times that people have been leaving schools and organizations that we work with, or people have been off long-term sick and you can't get access to your LinkedIn. It definitely happens a good number of times each year. So just be very careful to make sure that you are adding enough people, and that when people leave you to go and work somewhere else or to retire or whatever it might be, that you remove them as an administrator and you have a process for that, so that you don't have people in there that are leaving that still have the ability to be an administrator on your profile. So to grow this, the best way is to invite connections. Every month you get 250 invites, and that's for all of you administrators. So you might not have 250 connections. So add enough administrators so that you can use those 250 credits up each month and invite suitable people to follow you. It's the best way to grow the number of visitors, the number of followers that you have, and therefore increase your reach. You can view your analytics and get an idea of what's happening. So Are you increasing the number of followers that you have? Are you coming up in search results? And how are your impressions doing? The more you share things, the more you'll get an idea of what does good look like. So, for example, I can see here that we've got 27 impressions. I will know that that's pretty standard for us, but the goal actually is for your team to be sharing out content. So it's very difficult to build a couple of thousand connections for your company profile, but it's very easy to have, say, 10 people with 100, 200 connections as your employees, and you can notify them, they can share it, and therefore your content's reaching thousands of people through your network. The main thing for both marketing and recruitment is that you should be encouraging people to build up a network as your employees. It should be built into the way that you market and you recruit, so that when you notify people and they're sharing your content, it's going out to the relevant people. In terms of understanding how this looks like, you can edit your logo and your banner and the content that you have, and then you can click view as a member, and you can see how this looks. I would make sure that you're explaining to people the importance of them sharing content, because I do know that when you use this notify employees bit, quite often that can get lost. So encourage people to look out for that, so that when they see it come up, they are sharing your content. For both your personal content and also your organization content, always use some kind of media, so maybe a photo or a video, and try and use things that are engaging. You've got the ability to post things in a variety of formats, and the way you do that is you click start a post, and then at the bottom there's 3 dots. So you can share documents, you can share that you're hiring, you can celebrate something, you can create an event, add media, whatever it might be. The most popular one in terms of engagement for me has always been the ability to create a poll, and people tend to, if you pick a good topic, they tend to engage with it, and it gives you 2 posts. It gives you the post of creating the poll at the beginning, and then 2 weeks later, or a week later, or 3 days later, it also gives you the ability to share those results. So you get 2 posts, and not only will this be good for engagement and your brand reach, it's also really useful to ask questions that you might want to know. So is it fine to use competitive on job adverts, or should you always show the salary? What do people think within your network? So hopefully by posting and inviting people, you'll get a steady growth in terms of your followers for your company profile. But as you can see, we've invited a large number of people and we've only received 25 new followers. It's a slow process. It will get faster and faster as there's more people to engage with our content who are followers. But it is better to encourage your network of employees to be growing their connections, so that they can be reaching people much quicker. You then share that burden of work, and it's easier for people to connect with other people as an individual than it is as a company or a school or an organization. Does anybody have any questions about the company profile element? Perfect. In terms of recruitment, I think that if we were to look at this as a topic, I think that what I've noticed is that it's better to share your recruitment adverts and your recruitment branding, your employer branding on LinkedIn if you're an organization or a business than if you're a school. And the reason I say that is because we've had a number of clients that have been using LinkedIn to recruit. Their content gets pushed out to their connections and their followers, and those people typically are their parents. They're people already engaged with your brand. And what you find is that those people feel that because they're engaged with your brand, because they maybe have a child at your school, they feel that they are more entitled to that job position. Now, that's damaging for two reasons. One, they're not necessarily suitable or interested in the job. And two, you often, because of that, you often have to decline those people, which can be damaging to that relationship. The way that you overcome this would be to encourage the different department heads and different people within your departments to build up a network of suitable people so that you can reach outside of that bubble and you can reach people who are suitable for the music role that you have, the IT role that you have, the administrative position that you have, so that when you post some content about that, maybe a day in the life or a bio or a celebration of somebody in that role, it then gets pushed out to suitable people. From a marketing point of view, you also end up in a similar position with schools. Typically, it is better for organizations and businesses because it's easier to get out to potential customers. But with schools, it's very difficult to come out of that bubble of current parents. So if you're a trust, for example, or you're an independent school, you could find it very easy to, for the first few years at least, just be marketing to current parents. And that doesn't really help because often they don't share content. They just engage with it by maybe liking it or just reading about it. The best way that I have seen to use LinkedIn to market schools has been where people are using what's called a lead magnet, something of value that people are going to share. So it might be a guide to supporting your child through exam stress. It might be a checklist for helping them pick the best university for them. It might be a guide to helping people support their child through transitioning from one school to the next. It could be a whole range of things. Just make sure that it's relevant for your target audience in general and not just your current parents. So when you celebrate perhaps a student achieving something, that's typically going to engage very well with current parents, but it won't necessarily work well for people outside of that bubble. Does anybody have any questions about the recruitment and marketing advice there? Perfect. So I think in terms of LinkedIn, there's a number of things that you could be doing, but to summarize the recommended approach, build your LinkedIn profile so that it's something that's engaging. Try and encourage your colleagues to do the same so that you're all sharing ideas. You may be creating a banner that's consistent. Once you've got that, start connecting with people. Connect with your peers first and then start connecting with the same types of people they're connected with. It will become easier because as your network grows, you can connect to more people. Definitely do things a little bit every day. 10 minutes every day is significantly better than 2 hours once a month. When you're doing little bit by little, you also get an idea of what's working and what's not working well. In terms of the next step, when you've kind of got to 100, maybe 200 connections, start to grow your followers and your connections for both your school or company or individual profile by sharing content and by continuing to invite people to connect or follow you. The content that you share, I think you always need to be considering how can it apply to your target audience rather than how can it apply to your current network. Does anybody have any questions at all? I appreciate that we have quite a bit of time for questions, so feel free to ask any detailed questions about how it could apply to your organization or business. Perfect. So what I will do is I'll make sure that we share this with you so that you can come back and you can follow some steps. I've tried not to go into a vast quantity of detail here because I think that the best thing is consistency and simplicity. Keep it simple, make sure that you're focused on your target audience, make sure you're doing 10 minutes a day. And if you need any examples of what good looks like, or you need any feedback maybe on your profile or a post or the data that you get, do let me know and I'll be very happy to help you. But thank you all very much for attending and I hope to see you again soon.